Thank you. So we had looked at the four whorls, that is calyx, corolla, then gynoecium and androecium in detail with their different subparts, their structural arrangement and so on, and with respect to their functions as well. Now the small topic that is the last part of this chapter is inflorescence and the placentation. Again, I assume at least inflorescence you would have studied in the earlier classes. That is nothing but the how the flowers they are arranged on the axis of the plant. That is the proper arrangement, as in like whether they are along the axis or they are away from the axis and so on. Based on, sorry.
So it did that last.
Okay, so so that particular arrangement of flower is nothing but the inflorescence. And the flowers then they may be of like they can be arranged in several different ways. You can simply imagine of like a bouquet that you have around, like that is also a different ways of arrangement. So naturally also it can exist on different plants, like somewhere you can see them all in the bunch at one place, like at the end of the shoot, or in some cases you see them like at every branch you have only one flower and so on. So there are several such arrangements if you observe them around. But majorly, like for the study purpose, we will classify them into only these two types, that is called as racemose and cymose inflorescence. So in racemose inflorescence, the terminal bud continues to grow further, resulting in the orientation of the youngest flower at the apex and the oldest at the base. So let me show you this particular diagram. So for example, this one, these will be the older flowers, and as and when the shoot grows further, the young flowers they keep coming, like they keep arising from the axil of the leaf or even from the twig itself or the branch itself. So that is the arrangement called as racemose. And this is the cymose, that is at the end of this particular branch. All the flowers they keep arising, and the older flower is at the top or at the last, and inner ones or towards the root side or the stem side, these are the young ones. So that is the cymose. So it's just the different ways of arrangement of this flower. So racemose is the terminal bud continues to grow further. Terminal bud is the end part of the bud that will continue to grow further, resulting in an orientation that it will allow the youngest flowers at the apex or at the tip of the shoot, and the oldest flower at the base of the branch. And while the cymose inflorescence, in this the terminal terminal bud grows and dies, resulting and the orientation of the oldest flower at the apex and the young flower at the base. So it's exactly opposite. So you remember any one, and then the racemose or cymose, they will be exactly opposite in terms of their arrangement of flower. And there is a third type that you observe sometimes around us, is like that is the compound, which is almost a mixture of racemose and cymose, and you may not be able to differentiate always that whether it is a racemose or cymose type of inflorescence. That in this, especially the main axis, that is what is called as peduncle or the branches, they repeatedly once or twice they once have racemose or cymose. So that is like kind of alternate pattern. But again, this alternate is not always like there will be one branch with racemose and one branch with cymose, that you may not even see it like that. But some flowers they are arranged in racemose inflorescence, and some of them they are arranged in cymose inflorescence type. So that way on the same plant, if they are arranged, that type of inflorescence is called as compound inflorescence. Now in the former case, it becomes compound raceme. Like if it is the branches, they like show twice racemose and then cymose, so that becomes compound raceme. And if it is twice cymose, it becomes compound cymose. But you can forget these facts. This is not so important. The last part of the statement or this paragraph is not important. What you need to know is these two types for sure. That is what is racemose, what is cymose, and there is third type which is compound, which is nothing but the mixture of racemose and cymose, and that is good enough information for. Otherwise, there are like several other types of inflorescence. If you Google it out, you will get a particular picture of how the flowers are being arranged there. So this is just the representation of it, and you can remember it that way. The next part is the placentation. Now we already know placenta is something that will attach the ovule to the ovary, right? Ovules are those female gametes present in the ovary, that is at the base of the flower, which is the swollen part, that is ovary. And the placentation refers to the arrangement of these ovules in the ovary of the plant. Now, why this is so significant to study? Obviously, you would have eaten quite a lot of fruits. For example, mango, single seed, or watermelon, many seeds, but they are arranged in a specific manner, or papaya for that matter. All the seeds they are arranged in a specific manner, or pomegranate, or like all this, or apple. Different fruit, they have different arrangement of seed, and that goes back to the fact that how the placentation is present in those ovaries. Ovaries, they ultimately turn into the fruit, and the ovules, they turn into the seeds. So that is the way it happens, and that is why the arrangement of ovule is one of the important factor in the placentation. So there are different types of orientation, like apical, basal, parietal, marginal, and so on. So we'll see one by one. So marginal, it refers to one elongated placenta is located on one side of the ovary. That means it is on the margin of the ovary, right? One side, it refers to the margin. It can be on any side, that will still be marginal. And ovules, they are attached at the line of carpel's margin. Carpel as in the next to ovaries margin, they are attached. And all these leguminous plants, they will have this marginal type of placentation. So just to show you, any of these, this is also marginal, like in the first diagram, they are attached on one side or at the margin of this ovary. Ideally, this would have been ovary, which is now shown here as a fruit. And even this one, this seed or ovule is attached to one side of the ovary. So that way it is marginal, and this is usually at the base of the ovary. If at all, it has to be marginal. So that is the marginal placentation. Then axial placentation, the carpels, they are folded inward. Now carpels, that means your structures of the ovary, they are folded inward with the ovules placed along the central axis. Now this is a little difficult to imagine, but the example is tomato. Now if you look at the tomato, you have quite a lot of folds inside, right? At lower portion of the tomato, that means towards the stem of the tomato, there is quite a lot of like what you say, the mass of the tomato fruit. And towards the top, that is the pointy end of the tomato, there are little less mass, and that way this folding inward with the ovules happens, and that is the way they are present along the central axis. The central axis is like if you pierce this tomato from the stem through the top, right? So that will be the central axis, and all these ovules, they will be arranged along the on the sides of the axis. So that is the axial placentation. Then the parietal placentation, these ovules, they develop on the inner wall of the ovary. Now inner wall of the ovary, again the example given here is poppy. Now parietal, that is shown here, no, not here, this one. Now you might feel that these ones and these ones are similar, but here in this case they are attached to the outer wall, and here they are attached to the inner wall of the ovary, and that way this becomes parietal, and again they can have a different orientation like it is shown here in triplicate, and then there is little inward what we say the ovarian walls, which ultimately develops into the fruit part. And this is again a parietal where this ovule is attached to the inner wall, while in the case of marginal it is attached to the side or the outer wall. So that is marginal, parietal, and this is the axil. So let's say this is like a tomato kind of structure. Now this doesn't look like tomato, but still imagine. And then all the seeds, they are arranged on the central axis, so that I'm sure you all know how tomato looks like. So you can imagine this axial placentation. Then the free central placentation. So the ovule develops on the central axis while the septa is absent. Now all the ovules, now the difference between axial and free central is, here there are clear like the inward folds, that is the central mass of the fruit, that is nothing but the inward folds. But in this case, the ovules, they are developed along the central axis while the septa is absent. Septa is the partition between the ovule compartment, and the example is dianthus. For example, free central is here. Yeah, this septa, as in there were no compartments. Like here in this case you can clearly see the compartment, right? Even in this case you can see the compartments, which are two. Here there are three compartments, here there are no such compartments, yet they are all on the central axis, and that is what is called as free central. Here there is the septa, that is the partition. Here there is no septa. So that way these placentation exists in the free central way. Then the basal, that is the ovules, they are arranged at the base of the ovule. That is, for example, sunflower, all the all the ovules or all the seeds, they are attached to the base. Like this is the base of the ovary at the bottom. And now if you look it from the top, this is how it looks like. That is, at the center there is this ovule, and that way this basal placentation looks like. And the example is sunflower. You have already seen probably the how does a sunflower looks like. So exactly at the center there are all the seeds of the sunflower, and that is the basal placentation. And the superficial placentation, the ovules, they are attached entirely to the inner surface of the ovary. For example, nymphia. And superficial surface, as in like probably if I have to explain this, so inside the ovary itself, but not to the ovarian walls, right? It is within the I don't know if you have ever seen the bale fruit. Like you all know, probably bale is one of the indigenous variety of the plant, and that has like a round big fruit, and that has the seeds which are very superficial arranged. So they are neither attached to the central axis, and they are not even attached to the what we say the ovarian wall, but they are located in between, and they are attached to the inner like portion of that particular fruit. So that is nothing but the superficial placentation. Again, you just need to remember this arrangement, like how do they look like and how do they differ, but just as a definition, and you don't have much more to this. In your textbook, I guess there will be only one or two of these, not all, but I feel from the syllabus perspective, there will be these many. And again, there are quite a few other types, which we need not go into that complicated placentation types, but this is good enough as of now for you. So that is the placentation. And the last part is the types of flower based on the location of the ovary, and like based on where is the presence of the ovary within the flower, they can be classified as hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. Now without even going to this description, I will directly show you here. So hypo means below. So the ovary is or the all the other walls of the plant, they are below the ovary. So that is hypogynous. So you can see your stamen or the petals or the sepal or the thalamus, they are all starting from below the ovary. This is the ovary. That is hypogynous. Perigynous is on the sides. That means next to the ovary, they will start. So it can be like this or it can be like this. So again, stamen, this one, filament and anther, petals as well as sepal. And this is the thalamus, which is separated into two sides here. But ideally, it will be all around the ovary. Like this is the kind of two-dimensional view. So that is perigynous. That peri means on the periphery, that is on the sides. And epi means on the top. So ovary is at the bottom and all the other walls of the flower, they are on top of the this particular ovary. That is epigynous. So the examples of hypogynous is your tomato, tulip and brinjal. That is the hypogynous type of flower. Perigynous, your rose, peach or cherry type of plant, they are perigynous. And in epigynous, daffodil or even cucumber, these are your epigynous. In cucumber, if you had specially seen like to the plant, on one end of the cucumber, there will be a little flower which falls off later as it grows. But during the young stage of the cucumber fruit, the flower is intact with that particular fruit, and on the other side there is a stem. So that means this cucumber is being formed from the ovary, that is below the all the other floral parts. So these are the three different types of flower based on the position of the ovary or location of the ovary with respect to the other walls. That's it from my side. We'll just take this quick quiz so that way we can answer few questions and I will also get to know if you have retained something out of this. So if I may choose names, who would like to answer the first question? Which of the following is the justification of considering the flower is a complete flower? A very simple one. Sorry, people, Yajnesh,
So the fourth one.
that is presence of all four walls. What will we call if it has, let's say this presence of stamen and carpel? Will that be called something? Usually the flowers will have stamens and carpel, and surely it will have calyx and corolla as well in together, or they can have calyx and corolla with stamen or calyx and corolla with carpel. That is unisexual flower. When the all four are present, that is the complete or perfect flower, or it is also called as bisexual flower. Now the region labeled C and D, they are called as reproductive walls of the flower, and these walls are, what are these? C and D. Where is C? Here is C and here is D. Here.
So can you go back to the options? The first.
Look carefully. C is what? Prakriti.
So can you just go back to the options once? Yeah. Stamens and carpel.
Correct. So
I have a question. What Hia said is the same thing as that, right?
but
So the order's wrong.
order.
Okay.
Yeah, that means we are assuming C is gynoecium and D is androecium. So that is not correct. Yeah. So again, just a little attention, otherwise this can become wrong. The part label E is the outermost wall of the flower, and it is perianth, calyx, corolla or style. Part labeled A. Where is A? This one. Adira,
So could you go back to the diagram one?
here is the part A. Adira,
Yeah, sir.
can you answer for third question? The part labeled A is the outermost wall of the flower. It is out of this. Which one?
That's the calyx.
Right. Which is what is the combination? Calyx is something with S.
I'm not sure, sir.
Sepals. Right. Sepals we collectively called as
Calyx.
calyx. Then question 4, stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower, which is shown as C. Each stamen consists of two parts labeled E and F. Now you don't even have to look at the diagram for that. What are these parts? Snehashish?
Sure, anther and filament.
Anther and filament. But again, if we have to go by the sequence, then we need to look at the diagram. It is anther is E and F is filament. So that is correct. Siddharth, question 5. The region labeled A and B are called vegetative walls of the flower, and the walls are
So calyx and corolla.
right. Right. So that is calyx and corolla. That means again, sometimes we also have to pay attention to what do we have here as wall or walls, right? That S will make a little difference, right? Because it's a singularity and plural form of the same thing. So A is your calyx and B is your corolla. If it is individual, then we will say sepal and the petal. Then question 6. I guess this is very simple. The brightly colored wall is the corolla. The corolla is composed of, we just said it, it's petals, right? Let me see if there is anything interesting here. Yeah, let's do the 7th one. And let me ask someone, Ruchira.
Yes, sir.
7th question.
Sir, ovule stigma and style.
Sorry.
Ovule?
So the carpel is the female reproductive part of the flower. Each carpel consists of parts called GHI, right? Whatever
Yes.
that. So the part that receives the pollen grain during pollination is G. Now what is the G?
So that's the stigma, right?
Correct. So this part is stigma, right? So then the correct option there would be stigma is C, or the third option.
Yes.
Okay, I can skip few questions. Okay, question number 10 here. The ovules are formed from a soft tissue called placenta of the part labeled I. And I is, what is the I structure here? This one. Ovary, right? So again, there are like hundreds of questions like this. We need not go through all of them like this, but they are relatively very simpler one. I will just check if the other quiz is little more interesting than this one. If not, then we can stop here. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Let me just reduce this. I don't want this ad. Go away. Yeah. Where is the question one for this?
Or it got hidden below the ad.
Oh. Okay, fine. We can start with the second. In which of the following plant, these stamens, they are attached to the petals? This is more of a general knowledge now. Anyone can answer this. Which of the following plants the stamens are attached to the petals? Yajnesh?
Sir, I haven't seen Anonas squamosa, but I'm guessing brinjal and lily, or only brinjal.
So the stamens, they are attached to petals. That means from the corolla itself or from the petals itself, the stamens, they are coming out, not from the surface, but at the base. Someone has raised hand. Who is it? Yes, Shrihita.
Yes, I think it's brinjal only because I remember seeing the green thing at the bottom, the
Okay.
sepals.
Yeah, sir, brinjal.
Here, what do you think?
it's lily.
So, like if you observe the lily flower, the stamens, they are arising from the base of the cube-like structure, right? So they are not
Yeah, sir.
directly attached to the what you say, the petals. So that way the answer is brinjal. Okay, and I guess I had also shown you the picture of the lily, water lily especially, right? If you see that white petals and at the center there are this yellow anther like structure, that is the stamen part. So that way they are not attached to the petals, but rather they are separate. Which of the plant has half superior ovary? Now, okay, again, we may not know what is hypertium. Even I don't know what is this hypertium calcinum. Calicinum. But out of these three, do you know any which has half superior ovary? Half superior ovary means when we saw that epigynous flower, that is the walls they are around. Anyone? I'm not sure of this answer. Actually, I'm not sure which is the answer. Anyone would like to try though?
So I haven't seen a peach or a plum flower, but I'm guessing rose.
Okay, so let's see. I will show you all of them. So peach, flower, right? Or even fruit for that matter. If we look at the fruit, we'll get to know that. So here clearly it is not a superior or maybe half superior because I would assume that this part is the stem and the other side, that is, let's say this part is the stem here and the other part may or may not have flower. That's my assumption. Plum, for that matter, this is again a similar one. So in
Yeah, sir.
both of these cases, it is kind of not possible to have the flower around this fruit, right? It can be only on this side, which is getting completely closed, and that seed is developing, or rather ovary is developing into the fruit. And then a rose, obviously rose will not have fruit, but let's say, no, this rose fruit is coming something else only, rose flower. In this case, if you look, I don't know which, yeah, maybe this one will show. So actually half of the ovary, if you have seen rose carefully, again this is not showing the good version of the rose, but this part, usually the thalamus is little elongated, or it is little like cup shaped, right? And then half of the ovary is within that cup and half of the ovary is within this floral petals. So the actual answer for this is rose thing. Where is it? Here. No, here. Yeah. So for this, so these two, I'm not sure this, what is this hypertium? Let me check. Hypertium. Peritium. Cali. What was the complete name? Cali. Ayo. Calicinum.
Hypertium.
Calicinum. Oh, okay. Surely this is not the one because this looks like a very different flower altogether, and it doesn't seem to have the ovary around or like half ovary up and half below. So I don't think so. That is the correct option. What is the common name of this? Oh, never heard of this. Whatever this is. Okay, any which case. So I guess like we don't have to go through all of those questions. These were just for like some random questions that I wanted to ask based on whatever we had looked at.